So, have you ever found yourself reacting in a way that just feels, well, completely out of proportion, even to yourself?
Hmm.
Like maybe you're scrolling online, see a comment about, I don't know, the right way to load a dishwasher,
Right.
and suddenly you're neck deep in this like emotionally charged debate with a total stranger.
That sounds familiar.
Or, you consciously want a really healthy, stable relationship, but you keep finding yourself drawn to the same kind of person who, let's be honest, isn't great for you.
Hmm.
And afterward, you kind of step back and think, what was that? That's not me. Why on earth did I do that?
Exactly. It's those moments, those bewildering flashes of what seems like totally irrational behavior. That's really where the psychodynamic concept pulls us in.
Okay.
And while, modern psychology has moved on in many ways,
Mm-hmm.
we really owe a lot to Sigmund Freud. He was kind of the first one to systematically dig into this idea that so much of what actually drives us,
Mm-hmm.
our motivations, our choices, even those quirks that make no sense, it's not happening consciously.
Right.
It's this like hidden world full of unconscious forces, echoes from childhood, maybe secret wishes, even these deep inner conflicts we don't realize we have.
And that hidden world is exactly what we're diving into today. Our mission, really, for this deep dive is to try and explore these unseen drivers. Understand why our inner world sometimes feels like it's got a mind of its own.
Yeah.
And hopefully help you, listening, become a bit more of a mind detective for yourself
Yeah.
to figure out some of your own puzzling behaviors.
That's a great way to put it. And to really get a handle on this, that classic metaphor of the mind as an iceberg, it's actually still incredibly useful.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. The tip above the water.
That's your conscious mind.
Yeah.
Your thoughts, feelings, memories you're aware of right now, what you can talk about easily.
Okay.
But the huge part, the massive bulk under the surface that really controls where the iceberg goes, that's the unconscious mind. And that's the territory of psychodynamic ideas. It's the engine room, the archive. Maybe even the hidden director pulling the strings for a lot of our mental life.
Yeah.
Stuff we almost never see directly.
So it's not just like forgetting where you put your keys.
Yeah.
It's deeper.
Much deeper.
It makes me think of, when you're absolutely determined to stick to a diet, you swear you won't touch that last piece of chocolate cake,
Yeah.
and then boom, it's gone. And you tell yourself, oh, I was just tired, or I wasn't really thinking.
Right. The conscious mind makes up a convenient story,
Yeah.
an alibi.
Yeah. But if we're playing mind detective, like you said, what's the unconscious maybe doing there?
Well, exactly. The unconscious might be fulfilling some really old need for comfort, or maybe it's kind of rebelling against the restriction itself, almost like this secret negotiation happening inside that you're not really tuned into. And Freud really took this idea and ran with it. He suggested our personality isn't just one thing. It's more like a dynamic battlefield almost, a negotiation between three key players.
Okay, the three players.
Right.
Like the first one he called the id. Yeah.
That's right, the id.
We've all felt that one, haven't we? It's like the raw, primal part.
Totally instinctual. It runs purely on what Freud called the pleasure principle.
Just wants what it wants now.
Exactly. Immediate gratification. No thought for logic, reality, consequences, other people. Nothing. Just pure desire.
So, like, if you're stuck in a super long line at the bank, that first gut feeling of, ugh, I should just cut to the front, that's the id screaming.
That's pure id in action. It's not thinking about politeness or rules. It's just, get me out of this line now.
Okay, makes sense. Then there's the opposite.
Pretty much. You have the superego. Think of this as your internalized rule book, your conscience.
Where does that come from?
Largely from growing up, parents, teachers, society's rules. It holds our ideals, tells us what we should do, what's right, what's wrong. It's always striving for, moral perfection.
So, back in the bank line, the id's yelling, cut!
Right. And the superego instantly fires back. Absolutely not. That is rude. It's unfair. You do not do that in a civilized society. It's the voice that brings on guilt or shame if you break its rules.
Okay, so you've got the I want it now, baby, and the strict rule follower who runs the show then.
Ah, well, that's the job of the ego. The ego is the mediator, the reality checker.
Okay.
It operates on the reality principle. Its job is to try and satisfy the id's demands, but in ways that are realistic and socially okay, and also acceptable to the superego.
So it's trying to please everyone.
Sort of. It's the rational part, the problem solver.
Yeah.
So in that bank line, the ego is thinking, okay, I'd want's out. Superego says, wait your turn. What's the actual smart move here? Well, I'll check my phone, maybe listen to something, wait patiently. That way I get my banking done without causing a scene or feeling terrible.
Got it. It's like the manager trying to keep the wild child and the strict judge happy while actually getting things done in the real world.
Exactly. It's our executive function, navigating both the internal chaos and the external demand.
Okay, that structure makes sense. But you mentioned childhood echoes earlier.
Yes, and that's absolutely crucial in psychodynamic thinking. Freud really emphasized how much our early life experiences, especially our relationships with parents or primary caregivers, leave these deep, lasting marks on our unconscious.
Not just memories, but...
More like templates, blueprints almost. They shape our adult personality, our hidden fears, and definitely the patterns that show up in our relationships later in life.
Right, that's where you can really start connecting the dots to now, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Like, say someone grew up with a parent who was super critical, maybe withheld affection unless you performed perfectly.
Okay.
As an adult, even if they're really successful, they might still battle perfectionism.
Right.
Or need constant reassurance, or be incredibly sensitive to any criticism.
Exactly. It's not because they're consciously thinking, I'm not good enough. It's the unconscious still running that old program, still trying to earn the approval that felt missing back then.
Wow. Or the opposite, maybe. Someone whose parents were maybe too protective, very anxious about the world.
Yeah, another common pattern. As an adult, that person might find it really hard to take risks. Even when there's a great opportunity, taking that leap feels terrifying.
Because unconsciously,
the world still feels like that dangerous place they were warned about. Independent action feels inherently unsafe based on that early template.
Okay, so these past experiences create unconscious drives and fears.
Precisely. And that brings us back to understanding why we sometimes do things that baffle us. Those daily struggles, the weird behaviors, irrational anger, shooting yourself in the foot. Often, psychodynamics suggests these stem from hidden desires or conflicts buried in the unconscious.
Conflicts like?
Well, maybe a desire that society frowns upon, or a conflict between what you feel you want versus what you feel you should do, your duty. And these aren't always huge, dramatic things. Sometimes it's just a quiet tension.
Between what you think you want consciously.
And what some deeper, unacknowledged part of you is actually pushing for, or maybe pushing against.
Like procrastination. That makes so much sense now.
It's a classic example, isn't it?
Yeah, because consciously, you desperately want to get that important thing done. You know you need to.
Right. But the psychodynamic view might say, okay, what's underneath? Is there an unconscious fear of failing? Or maybe even a fear of succeeding and what that might mean? Or is it a kind of subtle rebellion against feeling pressured?
So it creates this internal log jam.
Exactly. An inner conflict the ego just can't easily resolve. And the outward result, delay, avoidance. It looks like laziness, but it might actually be this invisible battle going on inside, leaving you feeling stuck and confused.
Okay, so understanding all this, becoming this mind detective, why does that really matter for us day to day?
Well, I think there are a few key benefits. First, it really empowers you to look beyond just the surface behavior. When something seems irrational, yours or someone else's, instead of just judging it, you can start asking, okay, what unconscious currents might be moving things here?
Yeah.
It shifts you from judgment to curiosity.
That's a big shift.
It is. Second, it gives you powerful clues about your own recurring patterns. If you keep ending up in similar relationship messes or making the same choices that don't actually help you, understanding these unconscious drives can shine a light on why those patterns keep happening. And that gives you a genuine chance to maybe break free from them.
So it's not just intellectual curiosity, it's potentially quite practical.
Very practical. And maybe thirdly, and this is important too, it just reminds us how incredibly complex we are as human beings.
Yeah.
We're not always logical. We're driven by these layers of motivation, conscious and unconscious, and some of those layers are hidden even from ourselves. It's actually quite humbling, but also kind of liberating, I think.
Yeah, liberating because you don't have to beat yourself up quite so much for not being perfectly rational all the time.
Exactly. It allows for more self-compassion.
So even though psychology has evolved a lot since Freud.
Oh, absolutely. Modern neuroscience, cognitive psychology, they've added so much. But the core psychodynamic ideas, they still offer this incredibly rich, insightful way to look at the mind, especially the mysterious, sometimes contradictory parts, it really invites you to consider what's happening beneath the surface.
It really does. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the answers to that big question, why did I do that, aren't right there in your conscious thoughts.
Mm.
They might be hidden in those secret whispers of the unconscious, like you said.
Good whispers, yeah.
So maybe the next time you find yourself getting weirdly worked up about, dishwasher loading etiquette online,
Right.
or caught in some other reaction that just feels off, maybe take a moment. Consider that your inner eye, your ego, your superego, they might just be putting on a little show, a very old, very personal show.
Mm.
And the really interesting question then becomes, what surprising truth about your deep drivers might that hidden performance actually reveal, and what could knowing that really mean for you?